and welcome to the live. First and foremost, wherever you're joining me from, I pray that you are joining me well. We might as well start by asking the question as well. Where are you tuning in from, guys? Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Or are you in Asia? Or are you in Mother Africa? Let me know inside of the chat at that where you are tuning in from for today's live session. First and foremost, let me greet all of you guys. You got to speak properly out here. All right, we got somewhere in the States up in the chat. Somewhere in the States up in the chat. The pin has dropped on that. But guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. I didn't even catch that comment. Where did that comment come from? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me know where you're tuning in from, guys. As you jump into the chat, feel free to let me know. Are you in Canada? Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Are you in Asia? Let us know where you are tuning in and joining us from. Because in today's session, we're going to be talking about the powerful relationship between incremental and exponential growth. I don't know about you, but many people I have come across are attempting to create some form of growth. Okay, it might be financial growth, it might be relational growth, it might actually be family growth. I meet so many people attempting to grow. Okay, but one of the things I keep finding is they grow so slow, and so many people are wondering why that is so. So I decided to jump on live literally after one of our 5-day cash flow creation challenge sessions. We have our 5-day cash flow creation challenge taking place this week. It's absolutely going phenomenal. And I was like, I've got to go live. I've got to go live. I don't even know if I can go live, but I'm going to go live. So here I am with you guys. I am live. If someone's excited, if someone's happy about the fact that I've decided to go live, just throw the word live in the chat. Just throw the word live in the chat at that. Now, to get us started in today's session, we're going to do a few things. I'm going to be breaking down what I think are going to be some paramount insights for you guys to help you move further faster in your future. I know for some of you, if you're based with me, like in the UK, you're thinking, Samuel, hey, this is a bit of a late one. Yes, it is a late live, but the reason we're doing this late live is because I desire for you to thrive. I don't want you to just survive, especially in this world that we're currently living in right now. So for those of you who are jumping in, feel free to let me know in the chat where you're joining us from. Is that Soft Reset? Welcome to the live. Okay, wherever you guys are joining us from, feel free to let us know in the chat where you're joining us from so I can welcome you, I can greet you. Let me know, are you in the UK? Are you in the USA? Are you in Australasia? Are you in Asia? Or are you in Mother Africa? It looks like we got some Australia in the house. Looks like we got some, is that Asia? Is that Singapore in the house? There was someone pinned down there in this small region and area as well. Congratulations, guys, for getting inside of the live. It is a late live, so I should have realized that we're probably gonna have a lot more people from the other side of the pond. But again, wherever you are, let me see if I can pin all these places. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? If we can get over there. Are you in Australasia, or are you in Asia, or are you in Mama Africa? All right, let us know where you are. And I hope that's everywhere. I hope I'm being nice and mentioning everywhere. You know, it's not usual that I mention Russia. Let me know if you're in Russia. Let me know if you're in Russia as well. I don't know if you guys would have access to this live, but I just thought, you know what, we might as well ask to be nice. All right, so without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into today's session. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, that's powerful. Thank you for those of you in TikTok. Rebecca says there's no sound over in TikTok. Okay. So that makes sense. That just means you guys don't have the mixer connected. Okay. So we're going to fix that for you guys. We are going to fix that for you guys. We're going to fix that. Okay, the lights are coming in. I like this. The lights are, I love it. I love it when the lights come in, even though they can't hear what we're saying. That's absolutely powerful. Imagine that. The likes are coming in TikTok, even though they can't hear what I'm saying. That's so powerful. So Rebecca, first and foremost, a great big thank you for you letting us know that you couldn't hear us over in TikTok. But a great big thank you to all of the guys who just threw the likes in TikTok, because when you can't hear and you're throwing in the likes, that's even better. So guys, those of you who threw in the likes, a great big thank you to you over in TikTok. You threw in likes even though you couldn't see what you like, or sorry, even though you couldn't hear what you like. That's absolutely amazing. All right. So for those of you who are joining me in TikTok, let me see. We can hear you, Samuel. If you guys can hear me now, I believe you guys can hear me now. And guys, for those of you using TikTok, also let me know, like I asked. All right. Rebecca says, oh, awesome. And for those of you using TikTok, Let me know where are you tuning in from. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Are you in Asia? Or are you in Mother Africa? Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I should be getting my TikTok comments. For some reason, it looks like the TikTok comments don't want to come up yet, but they will come up in a moment. It looks like we've got UK in the house. Welcome, Rebecca. Rebecca has got me today. Oh my gosh, someone's trying to get paid. Rebecca smashed it. Rebecca says, I thought it was a social experiment. I thought Samuel I Can Win had jumped online to literally be running a social experiment. Literally just socially experimenting to see if he throws online, if he jumps online with a picture of a map, whether we would engage with the chat. I love that. Rebecca, thank you ever so much. That just goes to show how much we can do to encourage one another in this world. All right, but Rebecca, I appreciate that. All right, let's get this map down. All right, that was super powerful. All right, so Rebecca says she's tuning in from the UK. She says, "Thank you, Samuel. Have a nice day." I love that. Thank you, Rebecca. We can appreciate you. We massively appreciate you, especially because the "we can't hear you" message. That was super helpful because I didn't want my TikTok family to be left out of what we're doing, without a doubt. All right, cool. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into today's session. We're talking about incremental versus exponential growth. The first thing we should do, just to be nice for all of you, is to define what we mean, because it's interesting to say any term. You can say any term you want in your head, right? And for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I just want to say a great big welcome to the session to you. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, a great big welcome to the session to you. Now, typically, what happens in life is people use terms, people use words, and a lot of the time we don't necessarily know what they mean. What do you mean, Samuel? Well, communication a lot of the time goes wrong because two people are speaking, but they're speaking about two completely different things. And the reason that happens, the way that happens a lot of the time is because we use the same words, but we both have different meanings, okay? Someone write in the chat the word meanings, okay? We use the same words, but sometimes we both have different meanings. Someone write in the chat the word meanings. Now, Samuel, how does that happen? How can you be using the same words, but have different meanings to someone else? I'm so glad you asked. Let's explain this, right? The reason this typically occurs is because in communication, as one of my coaches once taught me, we all use the same vocabulary, but we all have a different dictionary. So if we all use the same vocabulary, that means we're using the same words, but these words have different meanings to us. So for example, if I choose a word like belief, okay, which one of my students mentioned in our session earlier today, the word belief. The word belief is a powerful word. Why is it a powerful word? It's a powerful word because to some people, belief means I really, really, really want. Okay, that's what belief means to some people. But to other people, belief does not mean I really, really, really want. To other people, belief actually means that it's going to happen because I believe it's going to happen. Now, if you are someone who subscribes to the Dale Carnegies of the world, the Andrew Carnegies of the world, those old philosophers, the Nevilles of the world, okay, you'll be someone who'll be saying to yourself, well, Samuel, that's actually true, because I'm sure Napoleon Hill said, whatever the human mind can believe, it can achieve. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying to you, we might be using the same words, but actually be having different definitions for these words. And this is why it's so important, regardless of the words you're using. Mandy, I see you. Mandy says she's in the UK. Let's go. I don't know why those comments are not coming up. The Facebook comments haven't started coming up, but it's all good. Mandy's in the UK. We got one UK in the house, all right? And we had UK inside of the TikTok as well. This is awesome. So we're getting connected. We're getting connected, guys. All right. And I do apologize if I'm not seeing anybody's comments on any platforms, guys. I do apologize. It's my fault. Okay, just so you know, it's my fault. And I decided to come on this late live because of the amount of value that we're literally sharing inside of our current cash flow creation week. And I thought it just wouldn't be fair if I didn't come online to actually share. So let's get deeper into this. So we use a lot of the same language, even though we're using different terminology, even though we're using different meanings in the words we mean. And this is why it's important for us to get to a place where we don't just talk, but we communicate. Someone write in the chat the word communicate, because communication is the key for everybody. Communication is the key. The ability to say something and know what you mean. The ability to say something and someone else knows what you mean. That's the key. That's communication. Okay? Communication is not just talking. So my hope, my prayer, my desire for you in this life today is that as I communicate, you're able to pick up what I'm about to be putting down. And that's what's going to assist you to move further faster in your future. So without further ado, let's jump right in. First thing we need to do in this live is define a few things. Let's define first and foremost what we mean when we use the word incremental, okay? Because incremental means growth at a steady pace, okay? Someone might want to throw that in the chat at that. Incremental means growth at a steady pace. I can even illustrate this for you in order for it to make sense and come through, okay? Growth at a steady pace, incremental, okay? So if we're talking about how some people grow in increments, okay? And if we looked at that on a graph, that would look something like this. This is called incremental growth, okay? Now the growth might be that steep. The growth might be that steep. The growth might be that deep. But it doesn't make a difference. Whichever one of these growth curves you're at, let's even be very, 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 very positive here, right? Let's assume you've got the most prolific growth curve. Let's assume that's your growth curve. Here's the thing. It's still incremental. Someone write in the chat the word incremental. Now, some people grow in increments, and for them, that's okay. But I'm here to tell you today, there's another way, okay? And you might be saying, Samuel, another way? How is the other way? Okay, here's the other way you can grow. Instead of having steady incremental growth, you can decide to have exponential growth. Okay, and grow in exponents. What does that look like in a graph? Well, one way it can look in a graph, there's many different ways you can define exponents in a graph, but I'm going to show you one way that can look in a graph. One way that can look in a graph is like this. Okay, that's one way it could look in a graph. Exponential growth instead of incremental growth. Now, what I'm going to do, just to be fair, I'm also going to draw on here an incremental growth line as well, just so that you can equally and also see what an incremental growth might be in relation to something that's exponential. Okay, because I just think that's fair. I think it's fair for you to see both of them together and understand, okay, this could be my situation. I can be growing in increments or I can be growing in exponents. But here's the reality. It's up to me. Just like they say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Yes, it's up to me. Someone throw that in the chat. It's up to me. Okay, it's up to me. Now, why is this so important? I'm so glad you asked. This gives me the opportunity to start breaking this down. The reason this is so important is because if you have committed to developing in an incremental fashion, you are going to stop yourself from being able to grow in an exponential fashion. I'll say that again in case you need to pick up your pen. If you have committed to grow in an incremental fashion, you have automatically, as a byproduct of growing in an incremental fashion, stopped yourself from being able to grow in an exponential pattern. If someone understands what I'm talking about, just write in the comments, I do. Because this is what happens to so many of us, so many of you. Okay, let's go. The one boy says it's up to me. Okay, now I want you guys to understand how this works, because we live in a world where so many people are living a life incrementally, when actually what they truly desire in their heart of hearts is to live a life exponentially. Imagine desiring to have exponential results, but only doing things that can give you incremental results. Imagine desiring to have this particular thing by this particular age, but everything you're doing can only get you that particular thing by that particular age. I want you to think about this, because this is the trap most many people, imagine that. This is the trap that many people are in. All right, so let me illustrate this for you in a deeper way, because I think this is going to be super helpful. I'm going to give you some quick stories, because I think these stories are going to help you, assist you to see this in 3D. So back in the day, around 2013, 2014, I worked in a school, okay? And the school I worked in, interestingly enough, I was a secondary and A-level math teacher. So I used to teach maths, okay? And when I was working in this school, I was on probably around a £36,000 salary per year, okay? So this was my salary each and every year. So I'm in this school, okay? And someone write in the chat the word salary, because this is going to help us in terms of how we think about what I'm talking about. So I'm getting paid a salary, £36,000 each and every year in the school that I'm working in. And as I'm working in this school on this salary of £36,000 per year, what actually happens, which is super interesting, is one day the head of department comes to me and says to me, Samuel, we're gonna be striking next week. Okay. And I'm like, okay, strike, what's a strike? I've never been part of a strike. Explain to me what a strike is. Okay. And he says to me, a strike is where we come to work, but we don't work. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. He's like, basically what we're going to do is we're going to show up to work on the Thursday. Let's assume the day was a Thursday. He said, but instead of coming into the school, we're going to stand at the front of the door. We're going to have pickets. We're going to have signs. We're going to have all of these things. And we're going to basically be doing like a mini protest. So I said, okay, this is interesting. We're going to be doing like a mini protest. So I say to him the question, which is probably the most important question, a question that children love to ask and parents hate to hear. Does anyone know what that question is? 3-letter word with the question mark on the end. I ask him the powerful question. I say, why? Okay, why are we doing this? Why? Okay, we're going to strike. We're going to stand outside of work. We're not going to go into work. Some of you guys are going to have signs. I might have a sign. Okay. But the key question for me was why? Why are we doing this? Okay. Mr. Head of Maths, why are we doing this? Listen to what he said to me. He said to me, because of the pay freezes. So I said, okay, the pay freezes. Now you got to bear in mind, guys, I don't know what he means when he says the pay freezes. I have no idea what the pay freezes mean. So I asked my head of maths at the time in 2013, 2014, I asked him the key question. I've already asked him why. The next key question, because I don't know what pay freezes are. And what are the pay freezes? And he explains to me. He says, okay, in the world of teaching, okay, someone write in the chat the word teaching, okay? Now you might have your own employment. You might be in a different career. You might not be in teaching. You might be an accountant. You might be a medical doctor. You might be a midwife. You might be someone who works nights, which is why you're up right now. I don't know. But in your world, my world at that time, 2013, 2014, was teaching, okay? He says the pay freezes are where and when. I hope you're listening to this, guys. This is so profound. He said the pay freezes are where and when the government decide how much they increase your salary by each and every year. So I said, okay, this is making more sense now. So the government decide how much they increase our salary by each and every year. And you're saying there's going to be pay freezes. So how did the two of these connect? Pay freezes and the government deciding how much they increase our salary each and every year. Well, this is what he says to me. He says, each and every year, we usually get a 1% pay rise. He said, but the government are saying they don't want to give us our 1% pay rise. Okay, this was what my head of maths was explaining to me. So I said, okay, cool, no problem. So next week, you want to strike? You want to put your whole salary at risk for a 1% pay rise not being given? And he basically said yes. I said, okay, cool. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me, right? Now let me start going into some of the things that when I thought about it, didn't make sense to me, okay? The first thing, let's do the maths, right? £36,000 is your annual salary. If you have a 1% pay rise, that 1% pay rise is £360 per year. Okay? Now, Tesco, if anyone knows what I'm going to say, you can throw it in the chat before me. Tesco say every little helps. They might just be right. Okay? Tesco says every little helps. So let's not complain about £360 per year. Let's not complain about that. That would be a bad move. It would be a bad move if we start acting like an extra £360 in a year is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Okay? It's more for you and yours. Okay? Someone write in the chat the word more. Okay? It's more for you and yours. So let's not say or act like 360 extra pounds in a year is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Okay? It's more. That one boy's got it. It's more. Right? But here's a few things that started hitting me in the head, right? And I'm going to share this because I know I want to go into the session today, but there's a few things I really just want to say, right? Here's the first thing that stood out to me. The first thing that stood out to me is the fact that this world has inflation. Now, I get some of yous may not have an idea what inflation is. That's okay. So I'm going to explain it. Inflation is the speed at which, the rate at which our money gets weaker. Okay? Inflation is the rate at which, the speed at which our money gets weaker. And inflation is usually represented by a percentage. So here's a question. How fast does our money get weaker? Well, usually they tell us, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but what they tell us is not the truth. But I'm just gonna be nice. They usually tell us that inflation works at a -3%. Okay, what does that mean? That means our money gets 3% weaker every single year. That's what they tell us. Okay, someone write in the chat 3%. That's what they tell us. That's what they tell us. Okay, so what does that mean? I'm gonna explain what that means. That means if at the start of the year you can buy a loaf of bread for £1. If inflation is -3%, that means by the end of the year, by the end of the year, the same loaf of bread is £1.03. That's how inflation works. Inflation is the rate at which, the speed at which our money gets weaker. And what they tell us is that currently inflation is a -3%. -3% means at the end of each year, over a 12-month period, our money gets